Hello and welcome to the Toledo According to podcast. I'm Riley Runnels, assignment editor of the Toledo City paper, and I will be interviewing some of Toledo's most influential and impactful residents as they walk us through what Toledo means to them. Every episode will feature a new guest talking about their favorite Toledo attractions, businesses, restaurants, and experiences, with the hope of our audience learning more about the guest and finding more gems of Toledo.
So my name is Rosie Best, and I am the artistic director of Issuebox Theatre, which is a theatre company that creates space for human dignity using the arts for social justice. As well, I am a therapist, and then I also work as the assistant director of plays and musicals at Northview High School. Yay, go Cougars!
That's Southview.
Oh, shoot.
Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats!
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Rosie.
Absolutely.
This is so exciting. I have known Rosie since I was a little kid, and I have watched all the incredible things that she has done in the community and also have been fascinated by her over-the-sea roots. So I'm excited to dive in and get to know a little bit more about Rosie's story and her favorites in Toledo.
Yeah.
So first, tell the people a little bit about yourself, how you ended up here, what you do.
Yeah, so I came to Toledo I was nearly 30. And I came to visit with some people in a church, and then I ended up getting a religious worker visa. And I worked at that church for a little while, and then I got my green card, and then eventually I became a citizen. By which time I was teaching theatre at Toledo School for the Arts.
Yes.
Yes, love that place. Was doing some, I was there, so they only had part-time theatre teachers when I started. And then I was one of the first full-time theatre teachers. Teachers? And then I left there in about 2000 when you and I met at Secret Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to try and do my PhD down in Columbus, but I didn't care for Columbus as much as I loved Toledo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm now at the point where I've been in Toledo nearly 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And talk a little bit about too, where you are from and, what kind of helped spark that big change. I mean, it's a huge change to move here, not only a state, but a country.
Yeah. So I was born in Wolverhampton. To Irish parents, which is why I can sometimes drop into an Irish accent all of a sudden, especially if I'm telling stories about my mother. But my mom was from Belfast and my dad was from Dungannon. I'm the youngest of 5 children. And I had been a youth worker, and I had done 2 years at Youth and Community College, which was training to be a youth and community worker. And then I did a year at what is now called the London School of Theology. So basically a year of seminary study. Mm-hmm. And so I came over here to work with the young people in a church.
Yeah.
So putting that to good use.
For sure.
But yeah.
But it is incredible, you seem very exotic and exciting to people who have been born and raised in Toledo. And we have a lot of people on the podcast who are born and raised, which is why I'm excited to get kind of your perspective of, you came here, you didn't necessarily grow up with these businesses and these restaurants and places around you, but you've come to love them. As you said, you didn't want to go to Columbus, you wanted to stay in Toledo.
Right.
So on that, I want to dive right into all of your favorites. So the first question is a pretty tough one off the bat, but I want to know what the place in Toledo that you are most proud of would be.
Ooh, that's a hard one to narrow down because, I think what has always kept me in Toledo is that there are so many really amazing things. Like people in Toledo don't always value what's in Toledo because they take it for granted that it's there. But, to have an award-winning library, an award-winning zoo, an award-winning museum of art, I mean,
and all within about a 10-15 minute drive of
Right,
each other.
Right. And then that you can go like 30 minutes drive and you're out in the country in the
Right.
middle of big fields. I mean, I think I'm very proud of the fact that there is that much for someone who lives here. And if you don't like it, I would say go out and see if you can find that stuff anywhere else. When we brought John Crispin to town last summer, he was absolutely stunned. He lives up in Massachusetts. And he said, this is amazing. He came and spoke to the Young Artists at Work program. He said, this is an amazing place. You've got all of this stuff. This doesn't happen in Massachusetts.
Right.
And I wish people in Toledo would appreciate more what they have going for them.
Absolutely. And I will say, you know, I've been victim to that of I grew up here and I completely took the place for granted. But when I came back after college, it was almost like seeing it through a new set of eyes, you know, and especially as an adult, seeing what it used to be and the renaissance that has taken over Toledo is so special. And especially, I will say, in the meal department. So all of the restaurants here are so incredible. I mean, our restaurant week is one to compete with for sure, because we have a lot of great restaurant talent. And I'm curious what the best meal that you have had in Toledo is and where you had it from.
Well, again, it's like, what are you looking for?
Right.
If it's a breakfast, if it's a lunch, if it's a dinner. Like, so, I mean, I've had some great meals at Registry Bistro, but my newest favorite place to go, Mama's Kitchen.
Oh, great choice.
I just discovered it.
I love
Someone
that.
said to me, let's meet here. There's beans. Oh my Lord, those beans are amazing. But you know, Adam Street Cafe has some wonderful, like I used to always, like I would walk in and they would say poutine and I had to stop eating it because it would, didn't agree with my stomach as well. But, you know, but that's a me thing, not a them thing, because it's still amazing. So now I joke with them, I get the 8 vegetable salad, which is actually a 9 vegetable salad, but I tell them not to do the beets.
You know what? As a matter of fact, I had that today, but I had it without tomatoes, so it was also an 8 vegetable salad for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then there's coffee shops like Sip, like Chandler Cafe. I mean, we have some great local places. Chandler Cafe, which is where I picked up my coffee on the way today.
Yes, I love that.
I picked up my phone and I ordered it, and I said, it's Rosie. And they said, okay, we'll have your latte for you. Like, they know me. I
love it.
Yeah.
That's the Sylvania staple for me, Chandler Cafe.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a lot of really cool annual events too that happen around the area. Obviously, we talked about Restaurant Week, which is an annual event, and we have different festivals or things like that. And I'm curious if there are any that really stand out to you as your favorite annual event.
You know, this is harder for me because, I mean, you know, Pride is obviously a great thing that brings people together and people go to. But I'm not really as much of an annual event kind of person.
That's fair.
I like to I have connections with particular community events and things like that.
Right.
But, you know, again, part of growing up is knowing what you want. Like, so I love to see my friends posting about the German-American, the German-American Festival. Yeah. And like seeing them dressed up in their finery. And it's kind of like seeing different people going to different things like the apple butter festivals.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, again, what a great thing that these things exist within reach of Toledo.
Absolutely. And, you know, Toledo does have a lot of different businesses or events that kind of cover a large span of areas, but there are some that I think we might be missing. And I'm wondering if there are any businesses that you feel Toledo is missing but needs.
So I have to go back to when I first came to this country for this. And I used to have to go on a pilgrimage to Tecumseh, Michigan, to a place called the British Pantry to buy tea bags.
Oh, yes.
right? Because Lipton's doesn't cut it.
Right, no.
And so the tea that I like is PG Tips. And I have to say that as slowly and as that, because otherwise it sounds like I'm saying PG Tips. So I think if there is something that is missing, it would be a place where you could go and get British food, British chocolate.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, Myers now, aisle 8, the international aisle, you can get, and I think Kroger's even has PG Tips now, and they also have Heinz baked beans, like the ones that we eat in England, not the ones that have all the sugar or as much sugar as you do here. But getting some British chocolate would be amazing.
For sure. I love that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I always think about that when I go to Cincinnati for Jungle Gyms. I always hit up Jungle Gyms for my international foods. So it would be nice if we had something a little more accessible like that here for sure. That's a great
rice
answer.
pudding. I would love to be able to get some ambrosia rice pudding. That is amazing.
I can't say that I agree with you, but I respect the rice pudding desire.
See, I went to boarding school. And we used to get cans. And so like the boarding school, like they had dormitories on top of each other. And I would maybe split a can with someone. And so I would tie it up and then I would drop it down to their dormitory below. Yeah. Good times. Good times.
Oh man, I love it. So I'm curious too, because we do have, you talked about the museum and we have so many great pieces of local art and architecture here. So do you have a particular favorite piece of art or architecture that lives in Toledo?
Yes. I am particularly fond of the piece that sits on the corner. It's at the museum, the bodies.
Oh, they're facing each other.
Yes, because I work as a therapist, and I think it says a lot about our ability to communicate with each other or not, or to hear what somebody's saying, or there's a version of one of those that has a little child inside it, and that's kind of cool. But I think in order to communicate with someone really effectively, you have to be able to sort of recognize your own vulnerability.
Yeah.
And also be able to be present to another person and allow them their dignity.
Absolutely.
And I think that piece of art says a lot about that.
For sure.
But I love all the murals. I was just looking at the ones on the side of the building here as I came in, and I was wondering about, like, I
Shout out to the Adam Street Publishing murals on the side.
Okay, there you go. So I love that, and that's one of the reasons why I've been really. I'm going to be involved in the Young Artists at Work program again this year, and I love being involved in that because, again, how many places will hire teenagers, pay them to be artists for the summer? I mean, the Arts Commission is an incredible organization.
Incredible. And I mean, you see so much where companies try to take advantage of young people, be it high school, college, fresh out of college even, to garner so much free labor. And it is so heartbreaking to watch. And, I think it is so admirable to find those ways to be creative and work and get that experience in the field you want while also being compensated fairly for it. It's
the narrative of exploiting the worker is overdone.
We are over it.
We are over it. Yes.
So true.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, you have a lot of stress in your life going on. Not only are you a therapist, but you also do so much with the arts and with theater in the area. And so where do you find that you are at your most calm when you're in Toledo?
Well, I would say anywhere that I've had my medication, because I recently, anybody who's known me will know that this wasn't a surprise, but I recently was diagnosed with ADHD.
Yes, ADHD.
Shocker! And it seemed to be getting worse as I was getting older, actually. I think before it helped me manage a lot of different things, but as I was getting older, it literally was I was like, either I am suffering from early onset Alzheimer's or I have ADHD. And I knew which one I would prefer to be diagnosed with, but I decided I needed to do the testing
For sure.
rather than self-diagnosing, because that's not helpful for anyone.
Right.
Where do I find calm? You know, we have a little family of animals at home, and there's something very comforting and uncomplicated about animals.
Yeah.
And being able to connect with animals and just, and also, being able to be at peace in your own self and in your own home. When I was younger, I used to be out from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And what I didn't realize was it was because I was not comfortable in my own skin. And so for me, my newfound passion is sitting and reading books.
Yes.
And I'm reading the Narnia Chronicles again. I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah.
But I've also recently read O Pioneers and Winesburg, Ohio, and I'm tackling finally the Canterbury Tales.
Yes. Look at you.
Yeah.
See, this ADHD medication is really helping your reading journey.
Exactly, because I sit down, I open a book, and I can go from the top page, the top of the left page to the bottom of the right page, and not be bouncing all over.
I know. I find that whenever I'm reading, or even if I'm here editing an article, I will just jump a paragraph, and I'm like, wait, go back, read it again, or I'll find that I've read the same sentence about 40 times without moving on, and it's okay, it's time to keep going. So I understand, and I love that question. Most people do say their own home, which is such a wonderful thing.
Well, and it also raises, Gabe, my intern, and I were talking this morning about the fact that, a lot of older people don't recognize the struggle that younger people are having these days. When I was in grad school the first time, it was, my grad assistantship paid my fees, and then it also gave me $700 in a stipend for a month. Well, now, there are hardly any places that give full grad assistantships. Right. So people who are doing that don't necessarily have the opportunities that we did, and the price of housing. I mean, I'm getting off on a soapbox here about as a social worker, the social justice issues. We have to really look at how we get young people back to opportunities where they can find place to live, because we want to keep intelligent, bright, articulate, personable, creative people in Toledo, because it's a bomb-ass place to live.
So true. It is.
Is that my mic drop?
Yes.
I appreciate it's new.
Yes, I appreciate that you didn't actually drop the mic. But no, I think the other thing too is there are so many different things for us in Toledo, and so many things for young people to appreciate that they might not necessarily know about, and so getting the word out is very important. And so from your perspective, what is the best time that you've ever had in Toledo, and what were you doing?
Well, I mean, most of those experiences for me would have been either on the stage or creating something for the stage.
Absolutely.
I have done a lot of acting and directing here in Toledo. I think one of the best projects I would artistically most fulfilling projects when I was at TSA was when we did Much Ado About Nothing. And I said it backstage at the circus, and Casey Koenig created amazing costumes. Tally Kissinger, who's just about to open Ruby Cats. She did this mask, these makeup and wig kind of treatments. There was a guy who was our tech director at the time who made an incredible set, and I think that was amazing. But having said that, we just so I help now at Northview as the assistant director with Don Wachowiak, SpongeBob, which we had kids flying, we had kids roller skating, we had kids There were projections, there were dancing. It was an incredible experience. And then we got accepted to present at State,
which also happened to be
at
Northview.
Northview. Yeah. And it's like, so, I mean, people coming together, like, I used to have this theory that theatre kids were the kids that church couldn't understand, because there are so many queer people within theatre communities, and we find acceptance in theatre in a way that we don't always. Don't tell me the hate mail. I know there are some accepting churches in town, but we don't always find that within the church.
Right.
And so finding that, I mean, there is a very, very vibrant theatre community here in town.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and I think that is incredible. We did a story about the kids doing SpongeBob at Northview. And, you know, watching all of them. You know, my cousin went to Northview and I went to Northview. Watching this program grow and change over the years has been so incredible. Yeah. And the work that you guys are doing is so wonderful. Yeah. So it's really, really cool to see.
Well, and then we went onto that stage to do a performance of Willard's Suitcases last summer, which was, we had about 400 people in that audience and 95 of them stayed for the talkback.
Yeah.
This is with Issue Box Theatre. And, you know, it's really important to me, you know, to do theatre with messages.
Yes.
So individually, I have a cool story about this. We presented a play called Every Brilliant Thing. And I was one of the performers. And those people in the theatre community would know Madge Levinson, right? And Madge sat on the front row of that performance. And I ended up pulling her into the show to be the professor. And of course, she was exceptional. But I have this wonderful picture that somebody took of me doing my bow and Madge standing. Like, and wow. It just, I mean, I've got goosebumps thinking about it now, because it was just, it felt like a blessing from above to get Madge. She was such an incredible supporter of the arts in Toledo.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and I think for me, I aspire to be that for young kids in the arts.
Right.
You know.
Right. And you are. I mean, you're somebody who, even me, I'm an adult now, but growing up, I always looked up to you in the arts. And, you know, I think it's clear that all of the people who participate in Issue Box and in the Northview shows and everything really do appreciate all the work that you do. So it's definitely, you are leaving a lasting legacy in Toledo, Rosie.
There you go.
So I want to know too, on theater, what is your favorite local production that you've ever been in? And what is your favorite that you've ever directed?
Ooh.
I know, really pulling out the tough questions.
Well, I think one of the favorite productions that I've ever been in would have to be Secret Garden, which we were in together.
We were, through the Toledo Rep.
Because that was such a, like, Ryan Tominski who now works with Telsey and Company. I mean, wow. Did such an amazing set, and Matthew Boland directed it, and Erin Wiley played Lily, and I mean, Drew Longmore was it Mary Lennox? Yeah. I mean, it was just, and I mean, I think that for me was such a family that we came together as a family. From the point of view of directing, I think, you know, probably my last production is always going to be the one that is most on my mind. Willard's Suitcases.
Yeah.
We had 15 performers who brought to life the stories of people who had been abandoned in an asylum in upstate New York. And the artistic integrity, the creativity, the musicality that everybody brought to their role.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was magic.
Yeah.
It was magic. And it was a thing that last April didn't know it was going to happen. And then suddenly in June, we opened up in the library. We probably had 950 people over the 6 performances that we did came to see that show. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And it's such a little known musical.
Right.
I
With
wish
such
more
a
people
strong
knew.
message.
Oh, yes.
It's truly incredible. And
Yeah.
it's important work that Issue Box is doing to raise awareness for these issues through a medium that everybody can get behind.
Yes.
I mean, who doesn't love the arts?
Yes.
In some capacity, whether you like to perform, play music, do the tech, sit in the audience.
Yeah.
Everybody loves the arts.
Yeah.
So it is truly amazing work.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering too, if there is something in Toledo that you could change, what would you change?
Again, as we were coming down here, we were having a conversation in the car, Gabe and I think one of the things that I worry about right now is that we have lost, or it feels like we have forgotten how to have appropriate debate or discussion.
Yeah.
Civilly, with dignity and reverence for the fact that we as individuals have rights to our own opinions, but we also need to recognize the difference between opinions and facts.
Right.
And I feel like there are some things in the world that I do not understand how some people can get behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that I could go to somebody and I could say, hey, can we sit down? Can we have coffee? Can we have a moment to talk about this? But there are so many gotchas.
Right.
That I would fear to ask that of somebody in case they thought I was trying to do a gotcha.
Yeah.
Or that it might be perceived in some wrong way
For
that
sure.
I would be trying to determine their opinion rather than trying to understand. Like, if I could understand where some people are coming from, that would be easier.
Right. It genuinely would. And it's so difficult. I talk about this all the time with my parents. It's so difficult in a space where we're all so divided to try and come together for understanding.
Yes.
And it does feel like a competitive nature rather than compassionate nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is a very, very powerful point and a powerful topic to consider for sure. And on a very, very less serious note, moving away from that, but not forgetting that, because that is very important. What do you find is the best view in Toledo?
I am always really captivated. The roundabout on River Road, where it has that wonderful fountain thing.
Yeah.
And you look out and you see the river flow. That is for me a moment.
Right.
But I would also say, since the silos have been painted, I mean, there is just how is it that somebody said, let's get these metal tubes and make them into an incredibly provocative, imaginative, those people are brilliant. We need more of those people in the world who see something that's blah.
Right.
And make it wow.
I will say my favorite part of my drive into work and going home from work is I get to drive right by the silos every day, and they are so, so beautiful. And you're right. It takes a level of creativity to do that.
Yeah.
And keeping that here and fostering that here is what's going to make the difference for our city.
Transforming spaces and places.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, when you are away from Toledo, what is something you can't wait to have when you get back?
A hug from my wife.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, now let me ask it this way. If she was with you and you both were away from Toledo, what is something you can't wait to have when you get back? A hug from your animals.
Cup of tea in my house.
Yes.
An opportunity, I love opportunities to meet with friends for coffee or for, grab a quick bite or something. People in Toledo who get how special Toledo is, those are really soul affirming type of people.
Yeah.
I don't really care to spend a lot of time around people who are like, Toledo.
Right. Who are so eager to just get away.
Or just want to diss it. Like, in fact, I would say that people who are like that have never been anywhere else, usually. Being known at the local coffee shop. So when I call in and I say my name, they know my order. It's like the cheers of...
Exactly.
Having an opportunity to go to Rick's Diner and, eat some food there. Adam Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sip. Courtney there is wonderful.
For sure.
She's such a joy. Yeah.
And tell me, if Toledo had a new motto other than "You will do better in Toledo," what would you want it to be?
I need a notice for this question. We've got it all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's short, sweet, to the point, and it sums up exactly what you're trying to say. So I love that.
We've got it all.
Yeah.
You want art? We've got a museum. You want animals? We've got a zoo. You want creative silos? We've got it. We've got it all.
For sure.
Yeah.
And tell me the most underrated thing in Toledo and the most overrated thing in Toledo.
I think that we have an amazing arts scene, theatre-wise. When I was going to go down and study in Columbus, and I know some of it has grown up a lot over the last 10 years, right? But when I was going down to Columbus, it was like, finally, you'll be able to have a really great theatre life. And I was like,
wait.
Hold my check. Because I think, when I started Issue Box Theatre, I never wanted to challenge any other theatre company in town because we're doing something very different. Like, we do storytelling for people living with dementia.
Right.
We do programs that go and work with people in sober living. We've worked with people who've been trafficked. We're doing theatre in spaces where other people aren't.
Absolutely.
Which means also, so underrated, I would say, that the range of theatre experiences you can have here. Overrated might be the Toledo sucks kind of narrative.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's two sides of the same coin, really. Toledo has a lot going for it. It's like, just get with the program.
Right. And that narrative is overdone.
Yeah.
And especially overdone. You can make your own happiness anywhere that you go. And so to even try and say that there's nothing here when there is such robust communities here in any area that you can think is definitely an overrated comment.
Yes.
So finally, the big last question.
Uh-oh.
I want to know, who is the Toledoan that you most admire?
Oh, is this where I say Chris Peterson?
No, you can say whoever you want.
I think Chris does actually check probably a lot of the boxes. You know what, though? I think probably Rob Koenig.
Yeah.
Is quite but we have to really take Rob and Casey together.
Yeah.
Even though they're very different people, right? I don't know of two people who've been much stronger champions of the arts in Toledo. Rob currently is the director of Toledo School for the Arts, but what a lot of people don't see is how much costuming Casey does and supports the artist in making these costumes that sort of bring these pieces alive. So I would say probably Rob and Casey would be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're great.
I'm sorry,
choices.
Chris. It had to come to this.
It is,
You know,
it's a
if she
tough
just
question.
called me to make lunch.
Oh, things could have been so differently.
So, yes, yeah, I could have. Yep, but okay. And scene.
Right. Well, Rosie, thank you so much for your candor and your time. We so appreciate you talking with us.
Yes, yes. Immigrants, we get the job done.
Yes, queen.
Thank you for listening to the Toledo According to podcast. Make sure to check out Toledo City Paper in print and online, as well as all of the publications under Adam Street Publishing, including Mature Living, Toledo Area Parent, Ann Arbor Family, Current, and Findlay Living. Find us on social media or connect with us if you have any story ideas to share.